Welcome to the Creative Tribe podcast. This is a podcast about all of the things that fuel a creative lifestyle. I'm Rita,
Now, Brian.
and together we're Label Me Other. Label Me Other is our production company, and one of our goals is to create creative problem solvers. So if that sounds like something that is of interest to you, then perhaps consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can look us up by the Creative Tribe. You can also find tons of amazing creative tips on our TikTok page at Label Me Other. Also, if you have any questions in the realm of content creation, then feel free to drop us a line at labelmeother@gmail.com. We post new episodes every Tuesday. So let's get right into it. We typically start our podcast out with a vent session. This is where we get anything off of our chest that has us in a negative mood. We believe that the key to a healthy creative lifestyle is having the space to shake off any negative energy that you may have stored within. Today, I have a vent session a little bit. I actually have two because I just thought of another one. And so, my first one is I really don't want to get into like, you know, I guess boosting negativity, if you will.
Uh-huh.
But like the Jonathan Majors thing. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Jonathan Majors, who's the guy who was in Low Key, he's a really big up and coming African
Yeah, he's
American.
in Creed 3.
Creed 3, yeah, Creed 3 and
Yeah.
the new Ant-Man. So he was recently there are allegations against him for assaulting a woman. They don't necessarily say it's his girlfriend, but it's kind of implied perhaps that it was his girlfriend. And so he denies all, allegations to it. But my point in this is just my vent, I guess, is that it just sucks that you got this young black guy who's like almost like a Sidney Poitier. Like you could tell he has something in him that's like really powerful. He can really reach audiences. And then to be hit with like this scandal, it potentially could be really damaging for him. So it just sucks seeing a young black guy who was on the up and then having to deal with this, especially with such major companies. We're talking Disney, like that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, but didn't they come to find out that the allegations were false? Like the woman recanted all
Yeah,
of that stuff. So it's like I think he may be in the clear
yeah,
right now. But yeah, but it is alarming on how fast everything that you work for and built up can just be snatched away
yeah.
by just someone saying something that just isn't true.
Right, right. Yeah,
And then them and people going back and saying, "Oh, well, we apologize for snatching this away from you." It's like it's never as loud as the accusations.
oh, right. Yeah. That's so true. Very
You
true.
know.
So hopefully this doesn't damage him um poorly, but I think he lost like one brand deal with like the army or something like that, but I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
anybody
he was
else.
doing some commercials for the army. Yeah, they
Yeah. So best
pulled
of
it.
luck to him. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my first event. My second event is just about being on autopilot. So, I think there's a time and place for autopilot. And
Uh-huh.
I don't do it very often, but like I feel like, and if I'm being truthful, like maybe I've been coasting on autopilot for a little too long. So it's that notion of like creativity takes work. It takes a lot of work to like work up creating something new or trying to make something functional for somebody else. And so
Yeah.
we need autopilot to just coast, in the times where we just don't have it. But there are times, if I'm honest, where I'm just like, man, maybe I've been coasting on autopilot a little too long. Maybe I need
Hey,
to kick it up.
that autopilot it creeps over into other stuff. I mean, especially like if you're
Yeah.
like it's one thing. Okay, in my day job, I'm gonna kind of coast, but
Yeah.
that can just real quickly just kind of sneak on over to your other creative endeavors, and it's
It's
like
true.
it's
Yeah.
autopilot is dangerous.
It is. It
It is.
is. It's always that and it's not without guilt being like, I need to particularly this video I'm working on for my 9 to 5 that I I just been on autopilot. I just, I'm just like, I don't have the desire to want to do it. And so like, I'm now like, okay, just get it done, just get it done. And I'm doing it. And I'm realizing, okay, it's really not that bad. Like, what have I been hiding from? So
Hey, it is always like that. I'm just
yeah.
like you.
Hmm.
I have three short videos that I have to do that I'm not motivated to do it at all. I know
Yeah.
it's easy. It's not hard work. It's not
No,
hard work at
no.
all. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you said, it's like, but once you get started, once you do it, it's like, it's like, oh, this isn't that bad. And then you just knock it out.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that bad at all.
Yeah. We all suffer from that. And it's just, yeah, it is what it is. And sometimes I can almost convince myself that I deserve the autopilot. I can be like, I've done this and this and this for them. I've done that for them. I can take an autopilot, you
Mhm.
know? But like you said, you got to be careful because it can slowly be like into your personal stuff, into your things that you need to keep yourself afloat. So
Yeah.
it's a challenge, but
No, so that procrastination, like that stuff leads to procrastination. Well, it is
hmm.
procrastination. And when people start requesting, like, where's my stuff? Where's my
Yeah.
video?
Yes, yes, yes.
Then it's like, oh, snap. Like that'll snap you out of that autopilot
Real
real quick.
quick. Yeah. But here's the thing though. I typically what I try to do, Brian, is I will do 90% of the work, procrastinate and go on autopilot for the last 10 so that when they ask where's their stuff, I can be like, it's almost done. I'll have it to you tomorrow. So I've already done the bulk. I just need to do the
Mm,
last 10. But here for this last autopilot, I hadn't done anything. Well, at first I hadn't done anything. Then I was like, okay, let me go ahead and at least lay out my tracks, the clips I know I want to use. So that actually took me maybe a day because I had 5 different interviews I had to go through.
mm.
And then I just sat again and I was like, dang, I got to get back in it. But it's like once you see because one of the, this is all a little off, but one of the videos I had came from another videographer who shot it and sent me the clips. And it
Mhm.
was all over the place. Like the lady is like trying to read her paper from below her. She's trying to look up and say her words. So that automatically put me into
Oh
like, I
no.
don't want to deal with this right now. I don't want to deal with this right
Oh
now because I know I'm
no.
going to have to do some magic work to try to make her look or cover her with B-roll. So I think seeing that made me go back into autopilot. And so but yeah, that's typically what I try to do. I try to do 90%, save the last 10, or I'll do all of it and then I'll, kind of sit and just don't upload it for a little bit, but be ready when they come asking for their stuff.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah,
yeah.
I've just like I used to do that, and sometimes I still do, but I'm getting better with not doing it. It's just that
Yeah.
now my motivation now is let me get that stuff out of the way so I
Yeah.
can work on the stuff that I really want to work on,
Sure. Yeah.
which is stuff for Label Me Other, which is stuff for our creative tribe, is that type of content. So I'm like, let me get this stuff out of the way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then so I can work on that. But I have to focus on actually getting the 9 to 5 stuff done. Because right
Yeah.
now it's like certain times it's like I'd rather work on this than work
Yep.
on this, and so I'm kind of pushing the 9 to 5 stuff to the side so I can focus my attention on
Yeah.
LMO and the Creative Tribe, content
Sure,
for
sure.
TikTok and YouTube. But it's just I just need to actually just take out the time, finish
Yeah.
this, it's done, and then now I can focus on the stuff that I'm really excited about working on.
Yeah. Do you ever get in those creative battles where you're like, okay, just like you said, you have your 9 to 5 work, but then you have your personal work, and you're like, I'm in the creative space right now for the personal work. So do you just give in because you know you could do it quickly because you have your full creative attention to that? Or do you just put that on hold and go with what you know you need to get done?
It will. Okay, so this is how I function. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm the most creative in the mornings, like in the mornings, and then I kind of get like a creative spark like late at night around like 10, 11 o'clock. I'll have like the urge to try to create something.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever so I put my personal stuff, since we work remote, I
Yeah.
put my personal stuff in my morning hours, the stuff that I'm really excited about. I wake up fresh. Yeah, I do that. And
Mm,
then once again, talking about autopilot,
yeah.
the 9 to 5 stuff, I can kind of autopilot that. So I can kind of, even if I don't want to work on it, I can kind of just, just go through the motions. At least I'm putting effort into getting that stuff done.
Sure.
And then like later on at night, I'm writing scripts for my personal stuff, coming up
Hmm.
with ideas for content,
Hmm.
and doing that sort of thing. So that's kind of how I divide out my day. So I don't totally push that other stuff to the side.
Okay.
I put it during a period of the day where I'm not the most creative,
Okay.
where I'm not in that creative mode. I stick it in there.
Okay.
But like my good hours, I'm at the moment I'm using it for my business, for the business, for LMO, for the creative tribe, for things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm kind of similar in that I think for me, I try to do I try to do when creativity sparks, and obviously it sparks a little more for LMO because it's like used to be every day I know I had to post a video, so I had to be on the
You
ideas,
have to
but
be
now
thinking,
it's
yeah.
yeah, so now it's every other day, and I'm trying to do a little bit for Instagram, a little bit for YouTube, and so it's kind of like I try to go with the ideas. I kind of let the creativity lead me and be like, okay, I need to hit that would be a great idea. Let me write it down so in the morning I can go ahead and hit it.
Mhm.
And I struggle with being forced into creativity, like being forced into like editing something. As you can tell, I've been struggling with that on autopilot. And so
Yeah.
so yeah, I honestly though I try to get all my work, whether it be LMO um or my 9 to 5 work done before 6 or 7.
Hmm.
So I really don't try to carry that into my evening hours. I just save that for my family time and like, watch a show with my wife or do something, go to dinner with friends or something like that. Like so
Hmm.
everything I've convinced myself that anything I need to do, I can do between 7 and 4. My working hours. I need to make time for both between those hours. Like those are my working hours.
Yeah.
And so, and then I try to start off with like my 9 to 5 work first, and then I'm like up, active, ready to go. Usually, I'm having coffee by that time, and then I hit LMO work, and I just bam, 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 hit it, and then I finish out with 9 to 5 work and go back to it and like wrap up anything I had left over. It's usually afternoon meeting or something like that, and then I'm done for the day. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, like, it's just
yeah,
people are different. People are different, but but the good thing is that, especially for creators out there who are trying to work on their own personal thing and who still, you got to pay the bills, you got to have a 9 to 5. It's just
yeah,
finding a way to fit all of that into your schedule and not pushing one to the side, you
sure,
know,
yeah, it's
not,
tough.
totally ignoring, because, hell, you need that 9 to 5 because you need to keep a roof over your head. so
Right, right,
so you need
yeah.
to make sure that you're at least chipping away at that every day and focusing on that at least a couple of hours of your day.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. So that was actually a really long vent session. That we're not
Yeah.
even into our main topic today. So our main topic actually for today is dealing with criticism. So creatives put a lot of themselves into their work. So receiving negative feedback or criticism can be very difficult to handle. Learning how to take criticism constructively and use it to improve your work is a crucial skill for any creative. So criticism. Well, what are your thoughts on that? Have you gotten any negative criticism before?
I mean, well, yeah, we all have received negative criticism. My
Mhm.
thing is that, and I'm kind of coming to this from like a work environment, from like 9 to 5. I mean, it's still like a mixture of creative as well, but
Mhm.
I have learned that, I mean, everybody has some form of criticism for anybody. If you solicit
Sure.
that from them, they're gonna give it to you. But it's just, you have to, whenever I deal with it, I have to first consider like who's it coming from, and do I
That's true.
value their opinion?
Yeah.
like giving their expertise on whatever they're criticizing or whatever that they're looking over.
Hmm.
Do you have experience in this? And do I value your opinion? Because a lot
Yeah.
of times, whenever you're like, if you're working on a team
Hmm.
and you're working on something, and you get a lot of emails like, hey guys, I want to send this to you to get your feedback.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people, like, let's just be honest, it's like a lot of people, a lot of times people just don't care,
Hmm.
but they feel the need to say at least something
Hmm.
because they were sent the email. And a lot
Right.
of times that something really isn't of value. They're just saying something, giving feedback just because.
Yeah.
So it's like, and whenever you look at that, it's like, you have to kind of figure out, like, okay, do I take this criticism? Like, do I take this feedback? Is this real feedback, or are they
Yeah.
just talking? They're just
Yeah. Yeah.
replying just to reply, just to say, okay, I replied to this email. This person said they wanted feedback. I'm just gonna just give them whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm very cautious of where the criticism comes from.
And I wish we could normalize that. I wish we could normalize being like, if you don't have anything, then
You
don't
don't
say
have to reply.
anything.
You don't
Just
have to
say
say
it looks
anything.
great.
Right. Right.
That's criticism too. Well, I guess it's not criticism, but that's feedback. It looks great. I like it. Great job. Like that can suffice.
But I
Um,
have I have learned about myself is that if I get criticism, and I'm learning that if it gets underneath my skin and it makes me feel a certain way, there's
mhm.
something to it.
Hmm.
That's what I've learned. Like, if I hear something and I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about, and I sit
Mhm.
on it,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, with me, within like an hour or two of like mulling it over, I'm like, okay, I think this person, like, there's something
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're right. So that's kind of like just learning yourself, and I'm learned that
Yeah.
if it kind of like bugs me a little bit,
Hmm.
then okay, yeah, there is something,
Yeah.
and that's, again, that's probably part of my ego, and I've been working on that. Just try to, just with my creative lifestyle, getting rid of ego, letting things come to you, accepting certain things, taking
Sure.
it in,
Hmm.
and that's just me taking it in, giving it like a couple of hours, thinking about it, and then, like, okay, this is good criticism. This is positive criticism. Let
Yeah.
me see how I can go in and make this better and take what they're saying in consideration.
True. Yeah. And I've never noticed that, but it's the same for me. I think criticism hits me hard. But then if I do take a moment to sit back with it, it usually is relatively good things that could make it better. But
Mhm.
it's always hard when you're giving it to someone at your best. You're giving it to someone saying, this is the best I can do, potentially. Um, this is all I have to give to it, and then for them to rip it to shreds or to just, have some choice words, it can be devastating. You're just like, what? So yeah, sitting with it for a couple days is great advice. Like, don't jump to anything. But in my experience, I've also had some pretty harsh criticism. Little story time here. So I used to work in
Mhm.
in advertising, and the worst criticism I've ever received was we were at like a roundtable meeting, and my boss was upset because the client's schedule didn't run at the proper date. And it
Mhm.
was it's been a minute. Let me try to remember. It was something along the lines of like running it either on calendar or on broadcast schedule, I think. And so um I ran it on calendar, and it was supposed to be like broadcast schedule or something like that. But the information wasn't given to me. I wasn't aware. I didn't know. It wasn't conveyed properly.
Yeah.
Not to save my skin, but the way that this man ripped me a new one, like Brian, to the point where literally, and I'm like kind of embarrassed to say, like I cried. I cried. He was coming so hard at me. It was like maybe 10 or so people at the table, and he
Yeah.
was just like, why did you air that? Why did you run that? If you knew blah 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 blah, you shouldn't have ran that. And that's just stupid. And are you an idiot? Like just like
Wow.
man, this guy
Wow.
was known for his rage, like
Yeah.
known. And like it came to the point where I literally walked away from the table and I just left. Like I left the building, I left, and I contemplated whether I wanted to quit or not. And obviously, you think of things like I got bills to pay, I've got things to do, and you're just like, man, but I'm not gonna let nobody talk to me like that. And so, like that kind of criticism is like it just took me aback, but it also gave me a lot of thick skin to understand. Okay, his perspective. He's the owner of this company. It's a very small personal company. He
Mhm.
was going to have to pay that money back out of his pocket for the mistake that had happened. And while it wasn't my fault, I was the person that was in charge of like airing it. And so it was like it was just yeah. And then anyway, and so I went, I cooled off, I let it go. I was like, man, we just got to talk. If he can't apologize, I'm gonna just have to let it go. I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna get my money right or whatever.
Yeah.
So long story short, I come back from my break, cooling off. As soon as I come in the door, he's like greeting me. He's like, "Hey, can I talk to you in my office for a minute?" I was like, "Okay, yeah." And so I went in there. He immediately apologized. He said he was sorry for losing his temper. He's sorry for talking to me that way. He shouldn't have happened, and yada yada yada. You know, but he apologized, and so I was like, okay,
Mhm.
if you can humble yourself to know that you did something wrong, then I can be receptive to that. Growing up Christian, it's like, okay, you gotta forgive them now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not going off in this story, but
No,
yeah,
no, no. I mean, this is what you're describing and telling is like you were baptized in the fire. It's like even
yeah,
though he was wrong with his delivery,
yeah,
but you learn the importance of, like the money situation when something doesn't air when it
hmm,
was supposed to air, and then like what that really means for
yeah,
that business.
right,
So
right.
I bet you that never happened again.
Definitely not.
See,
Definitely not. Okay, it
yeah,
did
it's like
not.
it didn't happen again, but like those are, you take an L, it's a lesson. You
Yeah.
learn a valuable lesson.
Yeah. But it is a line. Like
Yeah.
criticism is good, but
Hmm.
there's a way to deliver criticism. And had he not apologized, I probably would have quit that day. And that was one of my stipulations walking back in there. It's like, we're gonna have to talk about this. And so he knew he crossed the line.
Yeah.
And so we got it. But you still have to deal with the embarrassment of like crying in front of your coworkers and getting all emotional because hindsight 2020, I should have just walked away from the table as soon as he came off, popping off. I should have just walked away and been like, okay, you're gonna have to talk to the wall because I'm not gonna be here for you to talk to me like that.
Yeah.
But I was young and I didn't know, and I just was like, I'm just gonna have to sit here and let him talk shit to me.
No, but
Oh
I do think in the realm of creatives, and if you're working with other creatives and you are in a situation where you have to give feedback, criticism,
yeah,
give your feedback, but also I've learned with working with other creatives, give like ideas or suggestions of
yeah,
what could make it work,
mm,
of what they should do. Like at
yeah,
least toss that out there. Don't just say, "Oh, well, I don't like it. Maybe you should change this."
mm-hmm,
Provide suggestions on what can be done to change it and make it better. Like that's the work. Like if you're working with creatives, that's the main thing that I would give out about giving criticism. You got to give suggestions on how to make it work.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's like I don't know how genuine the criticism or the feedback is.
sure, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it just makes it seem as though you're on their side and not that you're just
Mhm.
like, this is jacked up, fix it, without being like, why is it jacked up? What's wrong with it? You know what I mean? Just saying
Yeah,
perhaps
yeah.
it would come across better if the person did this or did that, yada yada, or if you took off this. Because sometimes people's suggestions could be a lot less than what you would have done to fix it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like if they would have just been like, just take off his at the beginning, that would take you 2 seconds compared to being like, oh, I need to go reshoot it now. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And all that helps with building trust with your creative partners,
Hmm.
because it's like, well, if I see that you care enough to actually give suggestions on what could possibly work, I'm more likely in the future now to accept your criticism,
Hmm.
as like as a friend. Like, okay, well, this
Yeah.
person means well. They really want me to produce the best type of product or whatever that I'm working on, the best type of creation that I can,
Yeah.
they're not just giving me BS. They're actually
Mhm.
giving me, solid criticism and feedback and positive feedback and suggestions that I can actually use to make whatever I'm working on better.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are some great tips for helping you deal with criticism. If you have tips or suggestions that you'd like to share of how you've dealt with criticism in your working environment, then drop them down below. We'd love to hear them, love to read them. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. We look forward to the next one.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
See
Bye.
you.